He died in 1915. Then my grandfathers were there. They were rich traditional people. They never went into the churches. They never joined the Korean system. They remained during the Korean. It was Kabuta who was the first person to go into the church. And by that time, I was there myself also, so I went with him as a junior. I was there myself also, so I went with him as a junior member, and we joined the church in 1947. But even when we joined, we remained traditional. See, traditional people are very strong. They are not very strong. Stamina, looking after cows, what. So things you find, even when I was joining the army, what they were doing in the army was much weaker than my lifestyle. As cattle people, you are very, very tough. So it's just luck. Because I think if I had joined the chapati eating and all that, it may have been different. But I'm an original Minyankore who knows English and has studied the world. This is the advantage really about the stamina. My uncles have just died. They were all, one of them died at 104 years. Another, Kabuta died when he was 97. But for most of the time, he was looking after the cows. Even in the 90s, he would go and these children were seeing him. He was looking after the cows. So it is that tradition. If you can imagine the Karamojong, if he doesn't become disoriented, he is a very strong person. That lifestyle there is very, gives you stamina. So the culture should. I had a discussion with the Nabagereka, and she was trying to talk about the culture. Say, yes, we can audit it. We can audit the culture and see some of the practices which are out of date and remove them, but keep the others which are very strong. So I think it is that combination, the motivation to make sure that we don't become slaves. We don't become slaves. And then secondly, the stamina is from the historical accident of a traditional man arriving in the city. Because they had never seen traditional people. They had people who had become like westernized. I'm not westernized. I'm an original Minyankore who just arrived in the town here. From when I came to Mbarara, 1959 for junior secondary. That was my first time to go from the village to the town and see rice, all this. And for us, we didn't like those things. The rice, we were giving it a bad name. We were stuck with our things. Even now, I eat my mhogo. I don't eat rice. Yeah. So that is
And for us, the chapati eaters, what is our hope?
But remember that millet is there. You can come back to millet. You can come back because me, I eat millet. They know. I eat millet. I eat muhogo. I eat our food. I don't eat European food.
You inspire all of us, Jose. We're almost coming to the end, and if you do give us time, if you do have time, I can ask like 3 more people to just add on. But for now, we have just 4 questions left. One from Mr. Nyangweso, one from Musa Sekamanya, one from the head of the PPU, Sanda Walusindi, and I wanted to ask something about the PDM if we have time, but let's first hear from.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year, Your Excellency. My name is Timothy Nyangweso. I work with UBC. My question is something you've hinted on, education and human resource of the country. I was reading the Uganda Education Statistics Abstract Report of 2010. It shows the numbers grew to 8 million plus who are enrolled in primary school. Secondary school, it goes to 1.1 million. Then tertiary, it goes to 174,000 people. The question that I'm asking, Your Excellency, you have solved the quantity problem, number of children getting to school. The biggest question now is on quality. What do you envision as quality human resource over Uganda?
Even the quantity is not fully solved, because as you say, there are 8 million in the primary school, which is 7 years. Yes. Then you go to the secondary school, you find only 1 million. What has happened to the 7 million? And the secondary school system is 6 years, almost up to A level. So that means there's a big number of school dropouts. So even that one is not fully addressed, because the local elite, because of their not seeing far, have not implemented UPE properly. They still bring back charges which chase children from the school. That's how you have the difference between the 8 million plus versus the 1 million. That means a big number have dropped out, which is what we are going to resolve in the coming Bisanja, because in the government schools, I would like to get completely free education. Like I'm giving in the skilling hubs, the one they were showing you here, students study free. Now on the issue of the quality, the quality, some elements of it are good. For instance, science education, in medicine, in engineering, in sciences, is good. It's good. You get very good scientists. But the problem was in the big numbers of social sciences, because of the culture of administration. People wanted to be administrators, to be office workers. But that one we are addressing in the new curriculum by really going to the yoga, to the skills in the educational system. So it will be handled. Some of the quality is good because of the intellectual side, science, intellectuality is very good, some of it. But globally, the emphasis on social sciences created a lot of people who are not fitted for the job market, for the economy. That's how you get all these unemployed graduates, children who have finished university but cannot get jobs. So we are handling both. We shall handle both the quantitative, which is not fully implemented, and also the qualitative, by emphasizing skills. You can be a social scientist, but to do farming, that's a skill. Do farming, do something which is needed in the job market. Mm-hmm.
I introduced Nyangweso, and then I think I have Musa.
Webale nnyo Natasha. Mzee bampita Shafik Mukulu, Chairman Ghetto is Yellow.
Okay.
Bampita Shafik Mukulu, Chairman Ghetto is Yellow. Mzee nze ngenda kwogera ku bintu bya ghetto. Ngoberedde nnyo campaign zo ziwe zogera nnyo ku PDM. Naye ku PDM wetuba twogeretu oli mu kujja Kampala mu campaign. Kampala ejjudde abapangisa. Tuli bapangisa waliwo abaana bakulidde ku street. PDM eri all about agriculture. Agriculture eyetaaga ettaka, eyetaaga space. Otegekedde ki abaana b'e Kampala nga ffe aba ghetto?
Ab'e Kampala nabategekera dda. Bw'ogenda waliwo eri munda oyise Kasangati, waliwo abantu ba workshops benatandika nabo. What do they call those villages beyond after Kasangati?
Gayaza.
Migera. You what? I've got a lot of groups which have support. There are groups in India, Zempagide, there are workshops. Like here, there was a group here in Serbia of furniture. Nabawagira. I supported groups in is it Nigeria? Nigeria. There's a girl there called Chiwewesi. You can go and check on her. We supported their group. So we can support artisanship in the town. Artisanship, services of weather, border borders. Border borders is urban. Border borders, you can see them there. Chigo. Let me come back, just 1 minute. You can see them there.
Hello. In the meantime, we can continue with our introductions. I think we had started, we'll stop that side. So, introductions. Quick introduction before music.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year. My name is Emmanuel Rumala Dombo, Director of Information at the NRM Secret Service.
Yes, all right. Happy New Year. God is good. Twebaza nnyo Katonda olwa kino kyatutuusizaako. Amanya gange nze Jennifer Fulfiga, the President's Advisor, Sister one Natasha. My sister, I want a new photo with you. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Arinda, aka Madam CEO, Madam Coffee. I'm a Muzukulu.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Robert Sharp Mugabe. I work with Government Citizen Interaction Center as the Deputy Director. Mugamba mutya basebo ne bannyabo amannya Bukenya Media oba Bukenya Nelson oba Bukenya Media. Ne bannyabo muje baliko amannya gange Ronald Muhwana, CEO PLO TV.
Baseba muje baliko ne bannyabo muje baliko amannya gange nze Nachanzi Sumaya aka Maya nga ku social media nkozesa Narum Warrior. Thank you.
Balamusisa basebo ne bannyabo amanya nze Zakia Lucky nkola ne UBC everything to do with tourism era nkola ne Miss Tourism Uganda and a stylist at Black Styles.
Good afternoon. My name is Maureen Babidia. I'm a news anchor with UBC Television.
Happy New Year. Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Steve Washington. I come from 100.2 Galaxy FM Zina and Galaxy TV Gikonkoni.
We always recommend Shopify. It took us from an idea to a real business. We got set up, I think, in less than a day. Shopify gives us the ability to customize without the complexity. We're Thirsty Turtle, and we leveled up our business with Shopify.
Good afternoon. My name is Winda Innocent, CEO, Innomite Media.
Good afternoon. Happy New Year. My name is Rachel Namsoke, CEO, Lumpe Media UG.
We will continue later. It's coming back. Thank you.
So we are very, very conscious tukimanyi nti omutawuni ebitundu ebimu bya tawuni muyinza kukola gye tuyita peri-urban agriculture ebiri bbalibbali eyo nga Kazo, Nansana, oyinza kulunda enkoko, emanju, naye mu tawuni wakati waliwo ebyobugaga ebikwatagana bulungi ne tawuni. Artisanship, carpentry, metalwork, shoemaking, knitting and weaving. We have been skilling many youth in Kampala here. She has been skilling. What is the yoga? They are there. They were showing some here. Can you show them those activities on the TV? Then services, border, bakery, all those for the town. That's what we emphasize. Chichimanyi, I know it. I will not be talking about PDM in Kawempe because it's not so much applicable as it is in the rural areas. Okay?
Thank you, Mzee. We're almost coming to the end. We have a question from Mr. Sandawalo Simbi. Then we have a response to Kasuku Katende's question. I think someone wants to respond to him after Sanda, Moses Birhanga will respond, and then if you allow, we can have 2 more questions depending on your time.
Okay.
Thank you, Natasha. I'll just quickly go back and tell Mr. Simon those chapels of Bugolobi we should stop. Now, Your Excellency, as the world shifts towards multipolar power centers and rapid technological change, like AI comes to mind, digital trade automation, cryptocurrency, etc. My question is, what strategies will ensure that Uganda is not left behind? And how can Uganda leverage global diversity in wealth creation? Thank you, Your Excellency.
Uganda, what is crucial is African integration. If that one is happening, then there's nothing else that the rest will be easier. That's why our emphasis on the East Africa, so that East Africa operates as a common market, but even better as a political federation. But in the short run, at least as a common market. And we are moving well on that. If we have that, and then we have the rest of Africa as a market, where we sell and buy from, there's nothing that will stop us. Others may work with us, they may not, but we shall survive and thrive. So Africa is the crucial area of operations. The rest is additional. Then, okay. Now about the multipolar, that's all right, because hegemony doesn't work. Hegemony is people trying to control the world. It's very dangerous for you to try that. That's how Austria-Hungary collapsed. Because Austria-Hungary was, first of all, Rome. You remember Rome, the Pope? The Pope was trying to control the whole world. That they were Christians, because they had become Christians, so he wanted to control all of them. So much so that when Henry VIII wanted to marry another woman, then the Pope made it his business to go and stop him. That's how problems started. England broke with the Rome, and the wars. The Spanish Armada, 1588, when they tried to invade England. A lot of unnecessary trouble, but if you try to dominate, it's better to work with people rather than trying to dominate. Then, after the Pope failed to dominate the Christian world, after so many wars, it caused a lot of wars. Then, when capitalism came, the French Revolution, 1789, there was a man called Metternich in Austria-Hungary. He was the chancellor who tried to exterminate capitalism, tried to invade France, and it ended up destroying the whole of the empire of Austria-Hungary. So multipolar is unstoppable. Can't stop it. You can't and you shouldn't even try. It's good. What they should aim at is win-win. Because I've been telling some people, why do you want, because like now, you're wonderful Africa. I don't know whether you have those computers which you go with, you don't work, you sleep. Me, I don't have any computer with me. Just keep them far away. Even the phones, I don't go with them. But for you, always with them. Stops you from thinking. But you can check. Your wonderful Africa, the GDP, I think now is like 3 trillion. The whole of Africa. Do you have your phone? You check now. The GDP of Africa. Me who doesn't go with phones, I have it in my head. I think it's about 3-point-something trillion.
3.1 trillion.
Imagine the whole of Africa. Of Gagabo Africa, you're not. Is 3.1 trillion. All the dancers in Pakachini, all the... Now you check the GDP of United States. I think it's about 30 trillion. 30. Check the GDP of United States.
31 trillion.
30.3. 30.6.
31 trillion.
About 31 trillion. So you imagine, people, United States is a quarter of Africa. Africa is 12 million square miles. United States is 3 million square miles. You can fit USA into Africa 4 times. It will fit there. We are 1.5 billion now. The United States is 300 million. So, for them to have so much money when we are so much wealth. And what I've been telling these friends, of course, the problem is first of all us, you people, the influencers. Because the influencers, Bakatende, they're influencing people in the wrong direction. Instead of orienting them in the right direction of value addition, because the biggest problem of Africa is producing raw materials. Losing value, hemorrhage, ekigambo, erinya, ekikulukuto. Ekikulukuto, remember I used that when I was the other Gen Z. You must stop the ekikulukuto. The hemorrhage, this is a sickness among women sometimes. Banyamwele call it a cherriso. This ekikulukuto of Africa must stop. Losing money, losing jobs. And it is that which creates this poverty. So I have been asking to answer your question of Martpola, what? I've been asking my Western partners, you people, why do you want to trade with poor people? Why would you not see that it is in your advantage? Now Africa, if Africa was like, because if you take the GDP of US, which is 30 trillion, for 300 million people, that means that each person has got like $60,000 or what, per capita. Would be what for the US? Maybe about what?
$60,000?
Yes, about $50,000. Now, if Africans, 1.5 billion of them, if they were not necessarily 50, even if they were like 30,000, what will be the GDP of Africa? 30,000 times 1.5 billion. Like 45 trillion?
50 trillion. 450 trillion. 1.5 billion.
No.
It's 45 trillion, Your Excellency.
45 trillion. Yes. That should be at least if we were there. Would it not be, wouldn't America do better business with us if we had money in our pockets? They could sell us more planes, they could sell us more this, more that. So why would you want, if you are a clever, I can see that some of these Western thinkers are also not good planners. Because Africans are friendly to Europe. We speak English. I don't speak Chinese. I don't speak Russian. I speak English. I am a man of Shakespeare. So why don't you take advantage of me and you do business with me? But in order for you to do business with me, I should have money in my pocket. So if you come here and you want to take because now when they take unprocessed gold, which is 84% pure, they give like $60,000 per kilogram. When it is processed to 99.9%, like the one in Busia there, it goes for $120,000. So in a kilo, would be losing like $50,000 per kilo of gold if you sell it unprocessed. If you process it, you use more electricity, local. You create jobs, you get more money. And in that way, I can buy more from the US. That's what I'm telling them. You people, wake up. Don't want to maintain poverty in Africa. This 3 trillion is a shame. And you have got all these influencers. What are they influencing the banana? Right? Kateni. Influencers banana. I want to Mbalagawa. Africa must have a GDP, because very soon, in the next 30 years, we shall be 2.5 trillion, 2.5 billion. We shall be a quarter of the human race, but it is organized. So that's why I want you to be organized. The bari binasinkana rwextura Gen Z wari umuzukuru wange Sandra
is here actually.
Where is Sandra?
She's here. She has a testimony.
Oh, amatoke gafe gatusewa.
What umzinda?
Happy New Year, Mr. President.
Happy New Year, Sandra.
How are you?
Very fine.
Thank you so much. Banaiga soke nkwebaza Mr. President kanfukamire nako. Fukamire wano wondaba.
Abanyangore bafukamira Katonda yeka.
Anze kanfukamire ne yanzuzanya amatoke gatuuka. Bampa bunches 5 nengatunda naye kakati capital tene yasize unagana okuwera kati nengayongera mu company yange ya ushering agency gyenina kuba ndina abaana balingana employinga kati mwe nayongera
wajjamu sente
nagajjamu 25 zokka
5 bunches.
Yes.
Ngenda kukongereyo some more bunches.
Thank you so much.
Osibuka wa?
Nsibuka Matugga Katalemwa.
Wano ewaffe?
Awo nyini, Bombo Road.
Otwalwa naawo?
Awo nyini. Yes.
Wali
The client wants a launch video for this new perfume, and they want it to bloom from a flower. How am I supposed to do that? Stuck? Nano Banana plus Hailuo AI equals your flawless workflow solution. First, let's create our perfect final shot. Open Nano Banana. We'll upload our product images as a reference. Then, we just describe the scene we want. And just like that, we have our epic end frame. Okay, let's create this transition in seconds. Open Hailuo AI and go straight to the video tool. For the start frame, we'll use this beautiful close-up of the flower. And for the end frame, we'll use the picture we just created with Nano Banana. Now, we just tell Hailuo AI how to connect them. And boom, a high-end commercial made from 2 simple images. Simple, right? All the prompts I used are ready for you. Check the link below and elevate your brand storytelling.
Lotera kwa msoro ku mviri z'abafu eziva bweru ntiwandire se mviri z'amafu nizingera bwerere nimugabo nti nedda muzukuru emviri z'abafu zirina okwereza omusolo zemujja bweru bwemba mwagala enviiri za wano mukozese wano kyewala bafu wano mbajje kwe oba mukozese ebyayi muleke kuleeta enviiri z'abafu z'ebweru kaweke kati zino za kaluzosa karufuwa za karufuwa eziva bweru zirina okuweereza emisolo kati kwe kumugamba muzukulu nemugamba nti bw'oba otayagala kuweereza omusolo genda ntungamu ewaffe ogule amatooke ogaleete Kampala awo tekuli musolo gwonna internal distribution because they talk of taxes. Yes, we are taxing, but taxing imports, not only imports but luxury ones. We don't even tax medicine. We don't even tax machinery. We tax luxury items. So that's how I linked up with the business, internal distribution. Amatoke, okugaja ntunga munagareete eno ebikalu oluki baita ebikalu okubikola kibuga eyo nobireeta eno mubende produce. So you see you got some money from the bananas. Very good.
Your Excellency, to add on what you mentioned when Kasuku asked the question about digital, your government has done a lot. For instance, Mr. Kasuku was talking about digital employing the youth. Under business processing operations, BPOs, today 25,000 youth in Uganda are engaged in BPOs, working for companies outside Uganda while they are here in Uganda. And one of the enablers to that, and we are targeting 150,000 in the next time, of 35,000. What has also enabled that is the cost of internet has gone down from $70 per unit in 2018 to now 35. We are now reducing the cost of internet, and also the speed of internet has significantly improved from second generation, which is 2G. Now we are at 5G. That's why we are able to do this TikToking at a faster speed as if it was in Europe. Lastly, Your Excellency, what was the one of Java Gen Z? Sorry, ghetto youth. Your Excellency, ngoita mu office yo ya State House Controller, watekawo SACCO ez'aba youth. Buli division mu Kampala wasooka na billion 10 kati oyongeddemu billion emwemu bagenda kuzifuna mu biseera bitali byawala buli division. Kati kitwetaka ku ba youth bano training them into skills. Babeeko kye basobola okwekolera naye nga balina kasente basobola okujja SACCO baggyeyo mu banka yaabwe beewole ku magoba ga wansi ennyo basobole okukola business. Ate Your Excellency also office yo eri mu kuzimba workshop Mulago on Kawempe erimu common user facilities ng'abakola engatto abakola bags ensawo oli aleeta buleesi leather material n'agenda ebyuma byonna weebiri babiguze mu ebiri kontwala yamaze okubigula mu ebiri mu workshop eyo bisobola okukozesebwa. Abaagala okukola ebitabo tulina section y'ebitabo, tulina ey'engatto, tulina ey'ensawo, tulina abakola amasweta niti ebyuma ebikola goleeta wuuzi ne bakutundira balina ofuluma n'ensweta zo basobola okukola esweta nga 10 buli lunaku nga ez'enjawulo kala ez'enjawulo okusinziira ky'oyagala n'ebirala. Pulezidenti yatunuulira omuntu wa bulijjo, yatuma wano ttiimu yaffe n'agamba waliwo abantu bano ab'endaba abatunda amenvu ku nguudo mu bibbo. Pulezidenti n'atutumayo ne tubasinkana n'aweerezayo ka kapito emitwalo 10 buli omu, n'atuma waliwo abatoni, mumanyi abatoninyira toninyira mukange abatunda emmere eyidde ekiro bantu nga 1,000 mu Kampala. Pulezidenti bonna yabatuukamu n'abaweerezaayo kapito 10,000 buli omu, 10,000 buli omu, ab'ebigaali 10,000 buli omu. Kati ofiisi ya kontola era etuuse mu ba boda ebateereddewo looni ey'essente za wansi mu saako zaabwe. Kati ne boda ne ku PDM yennyini kituufu PDM erina okukwakuliza okwe tugenda okugyamu for urban areas twabanze okubitegeera tugenda kubujjamu bo basobole okukola ebyenjawulo ebitali bya agriculture. Ate sente mu Kampala abakufuna mu PDM bali 3,000 amaka 3,000 naye ne Wakiso 5,000 naye zino wa Kampala ne Wakiso kati mu kisanja ekijja kubanga tugenda kuwangula sente tugenda kuzongera zive ku milioni 10 buli mwezi officially buli mwaka zibeere milioni 3 buli mwaka. Naye ate kwezi ebisatu 30% z'abavubuka twakitegeeza milioni 9 zijja kubeera z'abavubuka. Ate abavubuka bazifuna batya? Ku kakiiko ka saako y'omuluka kyapasole wa Youth Council w'omuluka ogwo abeera memba. Kitegeeza bakyapasole baffe ab'abavubuka balina okulwanira ensonga z'abavubuka balabe mbu bwe tubeera abagenda gaba ssente ezo abavubuka bawera enamba yaabwe 30% zigenda ku bavubuka. Webale nnyo ekisere.
Thank you so much for that.
Two last questions you wanted.
No, I think I will leave mine for today. I will ask Katende, who has the influencer you have kept referring to, to say something on behalf of all of us who are here, to thank Mzee for the time that he has given us, and maybe to say something about in the line of your work. Huh?
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. For starters, it's what is should. Thank you, Excellency. Thank you for the time you've given us to come here and have a chat with you. I know you have a very busy schedule, but you've taken time off to allow us to come here and have a few words with you. I'm a digital content creator, and yeah, you've said certain things about the internet and how it works, but I still feel if you allow, through Natasha, we want to engage you more with the digital content creators to make you understand our job. There are so many people who are employed through digital content creation. Maybe we can see how we try to explain to you what our job entails. How do we harmonize to bring it into most of the ideas you have about taking this country forward? Because most of the youth we are trying to talk to, the youth, the government says right now are the biggest population. They are dealing with digital and digital content creation. And we really need the government to come and we work together to harmonize with us, to enhance with us, to support us in all the ways possible as to be part of the government's programs going forward. So I don't know if you could allow us, we get some time.
You make proposals. You make proposals and bring them to Natasha.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Finally, as before I give a vote of thanks, they always tell us when you go to visit your Jaja, they pack for you things, matoke, sweet potatoes and what. So the people told me as I came, they told me, don't forget to tell Jaja that we are here. He should pack for us some things, give you, and you bring, we enjoy. As the Jaja, I said, well, Luseke moving, Luseke coming. Said yes. So as a Jaja, I'll be waiting. You load me with the things for the Bazukulu out there, and we go. I know you don't like dancing a lot, but man, we want to have a good time. So yes, we want to go out there and we enjoy ourselves here and there after we've seen our Jaja. Other than that, thank you very much for your time, and we hope you give us more of these engagements. May not be us necessarily all the time, but to those other people, because now we feel we are closer to you. I had never seen you one-on-one real time. So I used to say, hey, because growing up they told us, so now I'm looking at the man, I'm like, wow, the guy is here. So it's a pleasure, and thank you, Natasha, for picking me out to represent all the other YouTubers out there. And I hope, like the president has asked, we are going to engage more with you, and you help us push the agenda. Mr. President, we are not bad people. We are only trying to do our jobs, to feed our families, and to see that we get better. So if we get into good books with you, I don't know who's told you people are misusing the internet, but well, those who are misusing it are few, and you can always cap them out. But the biggest part of us, we are really doing well on the internet. So thank you very much for your time, and we hope to see you again. Thank you.
Okay, regarding Okorongora is when people come, the way you reward, you give them gifts. I don't want to go to prison because I'm a candidate. So if I Korongora people, I'll be arrested for bribing. So I think we shall have to wait after the election, then we sort out issues. Do we have a lawyer here? An NRM lawyer? Huh? Mm-hmm. But Dombo knows, she's from the secret. What is the policy on gifts?
Hello. Your Excellency, there are certain activities accepted within the framework of the campaign. For instance, the people who have come here have spent transport in truck in coming here.
That one I can refund.
Now for the other gifts, they will be best suited, Your Excellency, if it can be arranged after the election and they come to congratulate you, then it will be a better time for it to happen. But the most important thing now is that they came from somewhere, they must go back and they spend on the way when they are coming. If you could, as you wish, and persuaded them to go back.
That one I will happily do. 1 million, 1 million.
That will be pleasant. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
That one I would happily do. I would even have done more, but now, Sagara Gena Mukomera. Okay.
Thank you, Mzee, so much for. Thank you, Mzee. Thank you, Mzee, for the time you have given us. And I trust that we will come back together. I hope you'll give us a chance to come as we are and also add on a bigger group. Like you have said, we can come and, is it called Kujaguza? And like celebrate with you, God willing, after the election. We come as we are, and then the Vazukulu and Kasuku and all these influencers we can get gifts and do all sorts of other fun activities, but after the elections.
So then we can have a group photograph there.
Yes.
They can organize some chairs there and then others stand.
Yes.
People you organize.
Thank you so much. We want to thank you so much for the time. Jaja, for giving us wisdom, and we thank you so much.
How many are there? So somebody organize them? How many are
Voice is simply faster, more natural, and more flexible than typing. He said he's voice-pilled, and I can see why. WhisperFlow delivers what Reed calls the future of AI interaction. Here's how it works. Instead of typing, just talk. WhisperFlow cleans it up instantly. Reed explains that voice is iterative by default. You stumble, you rephrase, you interrupt yourself. WhisperFlow handles all of that and turns it into perfect prompts wherever you're working. Reed predicts we'll all be prompting AI more. And voice lets you add way more nuance and detail. Better prompts, better results. That's why he calls Flow's voice dictation a major step forward in human-computer interaction. If AI visionaries are raving about it, you should probably give it a try too. It's free. Get voice-pilled with WhisperFlow today.
Fight on.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, and a particular thanks to you for emphasizing the fact that in a world of the disruptions and opportunities created by globalization and technology, the most important thing for us all to remember is that being human is the best thing we can do, and the best way to be human is to have lots of interpersonal connections. So, Jonathan, thanks for those very wise words of wisdom. Okay, we only have one last speaker. But I'm afraid I don't see him, so maybe I'll have to do an introduction that otherwise would not be necessary. So let me start by saying our speaker today is someone who needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. An entertainment industry mogul who has reigned for nearly 3 decades. An unparalleled force consistently raising the bar. A globally recognized innovator. Nobody is going to be looking at me within 5 seconds. A multi-platinum rapper. A singer. A songwriter. An actor. A record producer. A DJ. A media personality. A businessman. An icon. One of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people in the world for 2025. Over the course of his storied music career, he has released 22 studio albums, sold more than 40 million albums worldwide, reached #1 countless times on the Billboard charts in the US and internationally, and received 20 Grammy Award nominations. His career also spans television, where he recently served as a coach on NBC's 4-time Emmy Award-winning musical competition series, The Voice, claiming his red chair for the first time for season 26. With an incredible life story that's just made for the big screen, Universal is currently developing his biopic. And I think we all know that he was a breakout star on NBC's coverage of the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris. In addition to hosting on the screen, he was seen throughout the games, attending competitions, visiting with athletes, and exploring that incredible city. He's also a philanthropist, launching a youth football league 17 years ago that has now sent more than 40 players to the NFL. As part of the league, he ensures kids with physical, mental, developmental disabilities get the chance to participate and thrive. He is constantly, strategically growing and leveraging his brand. He has long been involved in numerous innovative entrepreneurial endeavors in tech, entertainment, lifestyle, and global consumer brands. And last but not least, or maybe this will be penultimate for me, in 2024, he had the honor, and we had the honor, of awarding him the Entrepreneur of the Year Award at the Lloyd Grife Center for Entrepreneurial Studies, where he generously gave his time to share advice with students. He told me before we came here that he first came to the Coliseum a long time ago. Am I allowed to say how long ago it was? 1978. He's back here now, and we are thrilled to welcome him to campus. Snoop D-O-double-G.
This is the quickest way to go from AI beginner to AI fluent in 2026. Watch this.
So this is how I became the most dangerous person in the room. One habit changed everything. I replaced social media with micro-learning. Now, instead of wasting time on social media, I spend 15 minutes a day actually learning how to use AI for writing, planning, brainstorming, the real work. That's it, just one skill a day. This is the 28-day AI challenge built for beginners over 40. Starts tomorrow. Tap the screen to join us and try the one habit that really makes you unstoppable.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Somebody say fight on. Y'all can say it louder than that. Say fight on. Yeah, I've been saying this for a long time, man. I want to talk to the graduates today. How y'all doing out there? From underdog to boss dog. Yes, that's what's happening. So graduates, today I just want to say congratulations. Y'all made it. You climbed that mountain. You did that work. You stayed strong even when the odds were stacked against you. Now let me tell you something. All my life, I was the underdog. They told me I wasn't good enough. They told me I was dreaming too big. They said a kid from the LBC couldn't make it. But guess what? I didn't let none of that stop me. I stayed true to myself. I stayed focused on the vision, and I turned them no's into yeses. See, adversity is like the gym for your soul. It hurts, it's heavy, but it builds you up. Every time you wanted to quit, every time life tried to break you, you chose to stand tall. That's what makes you great. Today ain't just about a piece of paper. It's about the grind, the sleepless nights, the sacrifices, the prayers you whispered when nobody was watching. It's all about those moments when you could have folded, but you didn't. You see, the underdog story is the realest story there is. Because when you come from nothing, you appreciate everything. You hustle different, you love different, and you lead different. So today, I want you to do 3 things. Stay humble. Never forget where you came from. Stay hungry. Keep that fire in your soul. And stay true. Always be real with yourself and the world. Because the world don't need no more copies. It need originals. And trust me, ain't nobody else that can do what you do like you do. So I want you to walk across these stages today like the champion you are. Smile wide, hold your head high, and when they ask you how you made it, you tell them, I believed in myself when nobody else did. Keep pushing, keep winning, and remember, it's always the underdogs who end up running the game. Trust me, that's why I'm running the game.
AI is booming, but no one tells you how to turn it into real income. While others hesitate, 60,000 plus professionals have already upskilled with Blockchain Council. With 60 plus in-demand programs in AI, Web3, and blockchain, you get practical skills that pay. Learn on your schedule, keep lifetime access, and earn globally respected credentials. Don't fall behind. Level up today with Blockchain Council.
So to all of my graduates and undergraduates, congratulations on this feat for 2025. And I look forward to seeing some of y'all in the real world in the next few days or two, because I feel like this experience is going to take you off into another realm of life. Something about these graduates from SC, they're going to be special people in life. And as I look through the crowd right now, I see a bunch of special people. So do some great things and make your family proud. Make the people who trusted in you and believed in you, make them proud. How many people out here are the first time graduating from their family? Raise your hand. See, that's what I like to see right there. Change the narrative. Be the first, but not the last. So all of you legends out there, you know the word. Fight on! Let's get this party started. Bang out. Go, 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 go. Da-da-da-da-da. It's the one and only D-O-double-G. Da-da-da-da-da. You know I'm out of what USC. Da-da-da-da-da. Please join me in welcoming back, leaving the stage, the one, the only Snoop D-O-double-G. It's going to be a challenge for us all, but let's
see if we can keep all the energy in the stadium as everybody else now gets to graduate. So let's get this graduation party started. Thank you, Snoop. Thanks, everybody. Congratulations to the class of 2024. 2025. 2025. I was just checking to see if anybody was listening. Let's go.
I learned that ChatGPT works best with detailed prompts, but I hate typing them. So instead, I dictate them using WhisperFlow while walking. When I'm walking, my brain just works differently. Ideas start pouring out. But ChatGPT's native voice dictation can't handle my stream of consciousness rambling. WhisperFlow cleans it up instantly. Here's what I'd type if I were at my desk. Here's what it looks like when I dictate to ChatGPT. And here's what it looks like when I dictate to ChatGPT using WhisperFlow. Rich, polished, perfectly structured prompts that unlock ChatGPT's true potential. The outputs that I get from these WhisperFlow walking sessions, night and day difference. It's like I went from chicken scratch notes to a client-ready draft. The best part, I'm getting a ton of work done while also getting my 10,000 steps. Try it and I bet your best work will happen on your next walk. Get WhisperFlow free.
This is your brain when you're struggling to focus. And this is your brain when you're in the zone. But getting in the zone and staying there, that feels more like luck than something you can control. So that's why we made Brain FM. It's like a do not disturb setting for your mind. And it gets you focused in just 5 minutes. Using science and sound, Brain FM guides your brainwaves into an optimal state for productivity called neural phase locking, which lets different parts of your brain work together more easily. Compared to average music, Brain FM actually increases and sustains your focus over time, letting you stay in the zone for as long as you want. You can also use Brain FM for relaxation, meditation, and even sleep. But don't take our word for it. Join millions of others and try it yourself for free, and see what you get done with Brain FM.
ever before. It's going to be. As you embark on this great adventure, let me share some of the biggest lessons I've learned from a lifetime spent building dreams and beating the odds. I beat a lot of odds. A lot of odds. A lot of people said, I don't know. But it worked out okay. Where are we? Oh, gee, I'm president. How did that happen? Now, you're going to be in the same position. But some of the, would you like to hear some of the ideas, or should I just skip over that part, huh? That's going to be more interesting than all the other stuff, which was slightly political, right? I'm going to give it to you, though, just as I see it and as I've learned it, the hard way and the easy way. First, if you're here today and think that you're too young to do something great, let me tell you that you are wrong. You're not too young. You can have great success at a very young age. You're all very young. In America, with drive and ambition, young people can do anything. I was 28 when I took my first big gamble to develop a hotel in Midtown Manhattan, the Grand Hyatt, and it worked out incredibly well. But I was very young at the time. I was like a very young person in sort of an old person business. Steve Jobs was 21 when he founded Apple. Walt Disney was 21 when he founded Disney. James Madison, James Monroe, Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson. They were no older than 25 when they began the journeys that etched their names into the history books for all time. So to everyone here today, don't waste your youth. Go out and fight right from the beginning, from the day you leave this incredible university. Go out and fight tough, fight fair, but go out and fight. You're going to be very successful, because now is the time to work harder than you have ever worked before. Push yourself further than you have ever pushed yourself before. Find your limits and then smash through everything. Go and smash through. You've watched that football team smash through. You're going to do the same thing. You're at the age when you have the time and vitality to do really incredible things. If you just give it your all. You'll look back and a decade from now, you'll be astounded by what you've achieved. You'll remember this day. You'll remember when the guy named Trump was giving the commencement address and he said I could do it, and guess what? I did. I think you're going to remember that very fondly. I hope so. Second of all, and very importantly, you have to love what you do. Okay? You have to. I rarely see somebody that's successful that doesn't love what he or she does. That's way you really like work isn't work. It's fun. I find it fun. I work all the time and I find it fun. If I didn't find it fun, I wouldn't be successful, whether it was real estate or in showbiz. I had a lot of different careers, but I loved real estate so much, and I was very successful at real estate because I loved it. I learned a lot from my father because I watched him work. He worked he was a workaholic. He loved to work. He's a good man. He was a tough guy, tough as hell, actually. Now that I think back, I don't know if you could even get away with that nowadays. He was tough, but he was a good man, I'll tell you. And he worked 7 days a week. He worked Saturdays, Sundays. It didn't matter. And I learned by watching him, he loved his life. He loved what he was doing. He had a great long-term marriage, a long, many years. He beat me on that one. No, mine are very successful, but they haven't lasted quite as long. It was close to 70 years. That was a long time. I said, Pop, you beat me on that one. But you know what I learned from him? That he loved life, and all he did was work. I see people that don't work hard, and they're miserable. So go out and find. But he loved what he was doing. And you have to find something that you love, and you have to follow your own instincts. Listen to your parents. They're very wise, but you have to follow your instincts and your heart, your soul, and you want to be the very, very best you can be. Treat every day like a home game against Auburn. Fight like hell and enjoy doing it, and your coach can tell you all about that. Third thing is to think big. You know, you're going to do something, you might as well think big, because it's just as tough. You can think small. I know a lot of people, they thought small. They're very smart. I know others that weren't nearly as smart, but they had a better picture of the big picture, because it's just as hard to solve a small problem as a big problem, and it's just as much energy and everything else, except the result is going to be a smaller one. So love what you do, but think big if it's possible. Now, if it's not possible, that's okay too. You do something, you have to do something that you love. You will have all the same headaches and challenges, all the same delays and setbacks, so you might as well do something that's just amazing. America doesn't aim small, Alabama doesn't aim small, and neither do you. So think big when possible, think big. Fourth is work hard. Work hard. Never, ever stop. An example is a great athlete, actually, Gary Player, golfer, great golfer. He wasn't as big as other men. He was actually on the small side. Don't tell him that, friend of mine. Don't tell him that, because he doesn't understand that. But he worked very, very hard. He made up for it. He never stopped. He won 168 golf tournaments. Think of that, 100. I said, Gary, you're winning like every weekend. Do you ever choke or anything? I don't know what choke means. And he made a statement years ago that I read, and I thought it was sort of an incredible statement. He said, it's funny, the harder I work, the luckier I get, right? Think of that. The harder I work, the luckier I get. So you really have to work hard, and you're going to be successful because you have the talent. To get into this school is not easy. To get through it is even more difficult. You have a lot of talent. Fifth is don't lose your momentum. You just want to keep it going, and you have to know if you are losing it. You have to know when you're losing it, so maybe you stop, and maybe it's time to stop. Listen to the feedback, think through your plan very carefully, and keep moving fast. The word momentum is very important. I mean, I'll just tell you a little story about a great real estate developer named William Levitt. He built Levittown. Some of you might live in a Levittown. He was the biggest developer of the whole country in the 1940s and so. And he built these jobs. He started with one house, then 2 houses, then 20 houses, then thousands and thousands of houses. And a company, Gulf and Western, came along and they said, we're going to make you an offer to buy your company. And they offered him a lot of money, more money than he ever thought he could make. And he retired, lost his momentum. He retired and he led a beautiful life. He had a wife, I must tell you, it was a second wife. It was a trophy wife. What can I say? I don't like telling you everything, but we're all friends, right? Can we talk? We're all friends. He had a trophy wife. And he lived a different life. He moved to the south of France, but he it was a life of tremendous luxury. He had so many millions of dollars. He was given a fortune for the company. And 10 years went by, and then 15 years went by, and he got a call from this big conglomerate, Gulf and Western, and they said, we're not doing well with the purchase, because he used to pick up every nail, every piece of sawdust, every piece of wood, every chip, everything, and he'd sell it. He'd make a couple of bucks. Everything was perfect. They can't do that. You know, these big companies, they don't do that. You see it a lot when an entrepreneur sells to a big company and then he ends up buying the company back for peanuts later on. It happens a lot. But he was the best at what he did. But 15 years went by and he was so excited, and they sold him back his company. And he started, and he was going to tear apart the world because he got bored with a life of luxury. And he started building and building and building. And the markets turned on him. And he went bad. He lost everything, and he went bankrupt. Absolutely bankrupt. And it was a sad story to read. It was such an amazing story because he was so rich, but he paid them, and he bought it for the right price, bought it low, but he went wild. But he lost his momentum. He wasn't good at it anymore. And he was at a party on Fifth Avenue, I'll never forget. And it was a party of a very, very powerful man who was having the party in a magnificent apartment overlooking the park. And I walked in, and there were 50 or so people. I recognized most of them, all the biggest business people in the world, actually. Very glamorous. I was doing well. I was young, and I was doing well. And I was invited to parties like that. And I looked in the corner, and there was Mr. William Levitt sitting all by himself on a chair, looking very glum. Nobody was talking to him, because you'll find that when you're not successful, you lose a lot of friends. It's not a good situation. But there was nobody talking to him, but I wanted to talk to him because I was in the real estate business and he was, and most of these people were in different businesses. And I went over and talked to him, and I said, how are you, Mr. Levitt? He goes, Donald? He knew who I was. Not well. I'm not well. I said, so can you come back? He said, no, son, I lost my momentum. I shouldn't have done it. I lost my momentum. And I never forgot that expression. He lost his momentum. If he would have kept going, instead of selling and relaxing and going into a different life, he probably would have been 3 times bigger than he was, but he lost his momentum. And you have to know when it's your time. I mean, there'll be a time when you do lose. You see it with fighters. You see it with a lot of people. They have a great record and they retire. And then 4 years later, they say, I'm going back. I can beat that guy. And they get knocked to hell. And it's not good. It's not good. So he lost his momentum. You have to know when your momentum time is up. I call it momentum time. But follow your momentum. It's a very important word. You don't hear it from too many, but I've seen it. I've seen it a lot. Number 6, if you want to change the world, you have to have the courage to be an outsider. In other words, you have to take certain risks and do things a little bit differently. Otherwise, if that weren't the case, everybody would be successful. Doesn't work that way. Progress never comes from those satisfied with the failures of a broken system. It comes from those who want to fix the broken system. And you'll make the bigger money, you'll make the more success by acting that way. The other way may be more secure, but if you want to go to the top, you're just never going to do it unless you break the system. Change is never easy, and the closer you get to success, the more ferociously those with a vested interest in the past will resist you. They want to resist. So I just say, Trust me on that because I know you really do. You have to break the system a little bit and follow your own instincts. But if your vision is right, nothing will hold you down. Nothing. You have to have the right vision.
So the topic about which I've been asked to speak tonight is the making of an investment banker. And I would start by saying investment banking is hard. It's also extraordinarily rewarding. It's fiercely competitive. Most people in this room won't succeed as investment bankers. Or maybe not in this room, but in most rooms, to most groups of people to whom I speak, most of them would not succeed in investment banking. So I'm hopeful that tonight, the comments that I'm going to make, this speech, the advice that I'm going to give you will help you increase the chances of your success as an investment banker, if you choose to pursue a career in investment banking. I'm going to divide my talk into 3 parts. Part 1 is the interview, getting the job. Part 2 is keeping the job, how to succeed as a young analyst or associate investment banker. And part 3 is excelling at the job, how to become an elite senior investment banker. So part 1, the interview. So all of you are at this incredibly competitive, fantastic university. All of you have great grades, hopefully. And you're all here tonight because you want to learn. You want to better yourselves. You want to improve your chances of getting a job in investment banking and of having a successful career in investment banking. Those are all very, very, very good things. So I'm going to give you 4 pieces of advice around the interview, which if you follow, will help you walk out of that interview with a job offer. Now, I'm assuming that you will satisfy the basic requirements of an interview. So this list is not exhaustive. It's 4 things that you need to do on top of the basic requirements of an interview. And there are many. I'm assuming, for example, that you have done research on the company for which you are interviewing. I'm assuming that you can project confidence in the interview. I'm assuming you can walk someone, an interviewer, through your resume. I'm assuming those things and a whole host of other givens that I'm going to stipulate that hopefully you've satisfied. In addition to those, here are 4 pieces of advice I would give you. 2 things you should do prior to the interview, 2 things you should do in the interview. Prior to the interview, all of you should be reading the Wall Street Journal every single day. Read the Wall Street Journal every single day. 3 articles from the Wall Street Journal. 1 article on a macroeconomic topic like inflation or interest rates. 1 article on a specific industry, company, or transaction. So for example, a recent merger transaction that's been announced, or a recent IPO that's been announced, or a company that's recently announced earnings. There'll be an article about whether those earnings are good or bad and why. 1 article on a specific company, transaction. And thirdly, an article from the op-ed page. 3 articles every day, no matter what, no exceptions. It'll take about 15 minutes a day. It's not hard. If you do that, you'll be amazed at how much you know, how much you've learned after 6 months or 12 months. You'll be amazed. You will know an incredible amount substantively after 6 months or a year. You will also, by the way, begin to decipher the jargon that we use as investment bankers, the jargon that we speak in, and that will help you in your interview and in your job. So read the Wall Street Journal, start reading it early on, every day, 3 articles, 15 minutes. Second thing you should do before the interview, become familiar with the 3 financial statements. Become familiar with the 3 financial statements. Know what they are. If you don't know now, that's okay. Look them up. Ideally, take a class in financial accounting and be facile with how these financial statements interact with each other and be able to analyze them at least at a basic level. Be familiar with the three financial statements. Two things you should do in the interview. One, what topic do people enjoy talking about the most? Answer is themselves. Very good. Themselves. That may sound cynical, but that is a psychological fact. People enjoy most talking about themselves. So in the interview, you want to get the interviewer to talk about himself or herself. That should be a primary goal. You ask questions like, why did you decide to become an investment banker? Why did you decide to work at XYZ firm? What's the most interesting transaction you worked on and why? Get the interviewer to talk about themselves. If you do that, they're going to enjoy the interview a lot more, which is good for you, one. And two, by asking these questions, these personal questions, you will elicit the most authentic and genuine responses. You will learn the most. So get the interviewer to talk about himself or herself. Second thing you should do in the interview, avoid questions that lend themselves to yes, no answers. Ask questions that are open-ended, that require sentences as answers, ideally multiple sentences as answers. You want this interview to be a dialogue, not an interrogation. Ask open-ended questions. Those are the four things you should do surrounding the interview. In addition to all of the basics that I'm assuming you've satisfied. If you do those four things, you are more likely to walk out of the interview with an offer. If you do them and you do them well. Second part of the talk, keeping the job. How to succeed as a young analyst or young associate in an investment bank. 6 pieces of advice. First piece of advice, find a role model. Find a role model. Your criteria for selecting the role model is singular, purely merit-based. You want to find the person who's an analyst, if that's what you are, or an associate, if that's what you are, who's 1 or 2 years ahead of you and is the best at the job. You don't have to have a lot in common with them. You don't even have to like them. You want to find the person who's the best, and then you want to model your behavior at work after that person. There's no reason to recreate the wheel, right? If someone's doing the job very, very well, and is generally recognized as being very, very good, in fact, maybe the best, watch that person, study that person, learn as much as you can by watching them, and then model your behavior after them. Second piece of advice, make it clear that you have no ego. Make it clear that you have no ego. Make it clear that you have no task that's given to you, that there is no task that's given to you that is beneath you. There's no task too menial for you. Make it clear to the team that you're willing to do whatever is necessary for the team to succeed. In fact, early on in your career as an analyst, let's say, in the first month or as an associate, volunteer for the menial tasks. Go get coffee, make copies. Make it clear you have no ego. Number 3, take notes. Some of you are doing that tonight. Take notes. When you're in a meeting with a client, a prospective client, a superior, take notes. You want to do that because it conveys to the people in the room that you're serious. It also conveys to the people who are talking that what they're saying is important. You're writing it down. And thirdly, And most importantly, it gives them a sense of comfort that you're not going to forget what happened in the meeting or the follow-up task that you have to accomplish after the meeting. The analogy I always like to use with this is, if you go to dinner with a group of your friends and there's 6 of you at the table at a restaurant, the waiter comes over and he takes your orders, and one at a time each of you order, and he doesn't write anything down. He says, "Terrific, I'll be back with your orders," and he leaves. I don't know about you, but I'm sort of wondering in 30 minutes, am I going to get the salad that I ordered, or am I getting meatloaf, right? You have no idea because there's nothing written down. It doesn't inspire confidence, and he didn't recap what the orders were. That may look impressive, and I don't care if you have a photographic memory. Take notes, write things down. And then in a meeting with your superior afterwards, walk through the list of follow-up items that you have. Tick them off. Say to your boss, "I will have the memo rewritten by tomorrow at noon. I'm going to rerun the model with the new numbers. The other follow-up item I have from the meeting is I'm supposed to call XYZ person or write a text to ABC person." Recap the meeting and your follow-up items with your boss. It will put your boss's mind at ease. Even if you know them all, even if you're not going to forget them all, it will make your boss feel like, okay, it's okay. He's got this. She's got this. I don't need to worry about it. Take notes. Number 4, work hard. Make no mistake, the most successful analysts and associates in investment banking are the hardest workers, period, full stop. It doesn't matter if you're a good golfer, if you can schmooze well. Doesn't matter if you can play tennis well, or you know something about professional sports. That doesn't matter. What matters is, how hard are you willing to work? Be prepared for that. It's hard. Work hard. Number 5, related to number 4. First impressions die hard. Good first impressions die hard, and bad first impressions die hard. So be very responsive, especially early on. There's nothing more frustrating for an investment banker than to send an email or text to an analyst or an associate and have that email or text go unanswered for an extended period of time. Don't let that happen, particularly early on. Be available, be responsive. People like to extrapolate. If the first 5 interactions they have with you, you're super responsive, you never drop a ball, they're going to extrapolate from there and assume that behavior is going to continue. If the first 5 interactions with you, you're unresponsive and you forget a bunch of things, they're going to extrapolate in a negative direction, and it's incredibly hard to recover from that. First impressions die hard. Make good ones. Be available, be responsive, don't make mistakes, particularly early on. Number 6, piece of advice. As a young associate or young analyst, never stop learning. So in year 2, day 3, you should be reading the Wall Street Journal every day. In year 3, day 4, you should be reading the Wall Street Journal every day. Every day. You may read more articles, you may read different articles, but read it every day. Ask questions of your peers, ask questions of your superiors. Approach the 2nd and 3rd year the same way you approached the interview, with that same zest, zeal, that same sense of intensity. Be curious, ask questions, never stop learning. The most successful analysts and associates do that. They never stop. They never rest on their laurels. Third part of the presentation, how to become an elite senior investment banker, how to really excel at this job. 6 pieces of advice. First, give your client advice that is the best advice for the client, even if, and in particular if, it is contrary to your own interests. There's no better way to establish credibility with a client than to give them advice that they know is contrary to your interest. Give that advice, no matter what. Second, take a position. Don't equivocate. The client has hired you to advise them. Tell them what to do. That's what they've hired you for. Don't give them 5 options and say, pick one. You pick one. Advocate for it. It's okay to present options, but advocate for one. Tell them what you would advise them to do. That's what they've hired you for. Take a position. Don't equivocate. Number 3, embrace and relish in adversity. Adversity is what makes you better, stronger at this job. Relish it. It's easy particularly for young professionals these days, to want to take shortcuts. It's easy in particular because we have phones and the internet, and there's a lot of answers at our fingertips now, right? So if someone's asked you to build a model, an Excel model, to perform some task at work, you could probably look up on the internet a model that will do that. Resist that temptation. Build your own model. Resist the temptation to take shortcuts. Live in the trenches. Because the best investment bankers lived in the trenches. Their skills were forged there. Relish adversity. You will come out of it stronger. Don't be disappointed, afraid, angry when you encounter it. View it, embrace it, and view it as something that will make you stronger. Number 4, master discipline. This job requires incredible discipline. Master it, inside and outside of your work. This means different things to different people. To some people, it means remaining physically fit. To others, it means time management. Master discipline. Don't procrastinate. Don't let items build up in your inbox. Keep lists. Don't procrastinate. Be extraordinarily disciplined. Master it. Number 5, excel on the merits. If you're really good at what you do, if you're one of the best investment bankers, it's a lot easier to avoid spending time on things that you don't want to spend time on. And you'll have much more control over what you do at work and what you do outside of work. A lot of people ask me, what's the best way to achieve work-life balance? The answer is, be really, really good at what you do. No one is going to give you a hard time if you're the best investment banker at the firm or among the best for taking some time off to do something that you like to do. In fact, taking a lot of time off for doing something that you like to do. Excel on the merits. Number 6, final piece of advice. Never, ever give up. Adopt that mantra as part of your life. Don't take no for an answer. Apply this in everything you do, from getting reservations at a restaurant, to getting a job, to getting a new client. Never, ever, 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 ever give up. Don't take no for an answer. What separates the good investment bankers from the great investment bankers is the great investment bankers never, ever give up. Covering clients is a learned skill. It is not an innate skill. And I remember when I was in your shoes, I was worried when I started at Goldman Sachs that when I looked at the people who were really good at covering clients and really good at bringing in clients, the so-called rainmakers, I was worried that maybe they were just born that way. Maybe they were just natural born salesmen and saleswomen. And what I found was that wasn't the case. I have found over the years, and early on actually, that these are skills that you can learn if you're willing to learn them. And what you should do is you should find somebody at the firm in which you work, whether it's a consulting firm, a law firm, an investment bank, an accounting firm, whatever it is. Find somebody who's really good at bringing in business, at covering clients, and learn as much as you can from that person. Be an open book, put your ego aside, and learn as much as you can. I was fortunate in that I found somebody like that at Goldman Sachs, and for the first 2 years, I did everything I could to observe this person, to be with him. I worked on every transaction I could with him. I carried his bags around. I made Xeroxes for him. I did whatever I could to help him. And I said, I just really want to learn from you. And I would watch him sometimes in meetings, and he would do things that I thought were wrong or didn't make sense to me. But I put my ego aside. I said, there's got to be a reason why he's doing this. And as time went on, I realized there was in every case, and I started using the same strategies with prospective clients, and they worked. And so to this day, a good portion of what I do with clients, a good portion of the skills, a good portion of the strategies that I use with clients came from this man. And the rest is, things that I added on of my own over the years. So find somebody who's really good, flatter the person, say that to them, look, you're really good, I want to learn from you. Is it okay if I just sit in on meetings with you? Is it okay if I work with you on some transactions? I'll do anything. I'll make coffee for you or get lunch or Xerox or whatever it takes. And then be an open book. Put your ego aside. Approach it from the perspective of a clean slate and learn, because you can learn these skills. They are not innate. They are learned skills. So first piece of advice. The second piece of advice I would give to you is the most common mistake that client coverage people make when they cover clients is that they don't become strategic advisors to their clients. So what I mean by that, they don't take the opportunity while they're working with the client. They do not take the opportunity to start to advise the client on matters outside of the matter that they've been hired to work on. So let me give you an example. It's best to illustrate this piece of advice by giving an example from my world. So if you were a merger banker, so a merger banker is someone who's been hired by a company to help them go through a merger, let's say to buy another company. So let's say you're a merger banker, you've been hired by company A to buy company B, your client's company A. You're going to spend a ton of time with the CEO over 6 months to a year period working on that deal. You're going to spend all-nighters with the CEO. You're going to be sequestered to conference rooms. You're going to get to know that CEO extremely well, and you're going to build, hopefully, a very good relationship with them. Most bankers do that, and they do a great job on that merger transaction. And then the transaction comes to a close. They have a nice dinner. They raise a glass, a closing dinner. They'll toast the CEO. The deal closes, and then they go away. And then 5 years later, there's another merger mandate. Company A is going to buy Company C. And the banker calls up the CEO and says, hey, remember me? We spent all that time together. I did such a good job. The CEO's sort of like, no, get in line. We're going to have a bake-off. There's 5 firms coming in. You can be one of the 5. We may hire you, we may not. The relationship is gone. Because what the banker did was they didn't take the opportunity while they were intimate with the client to become a strategic advisor to the client. What I would do is I would start to engage that merger client on other matters. I would say to the client, while we're working on the merger transaction, I'd say, I know a large portion of your revenues come from Japan. $2 billion of your revenues come from Japan. The Japanese government has said that they are going to devalue their currency. So that money that's coming into you in the form of yen is probably going to decrease in value. Have you ever thought about maybe hedging your exposure against the yen? Because if it goes down by 10%, you lose $200 million on that $2 billion of revenue. That's an interesting point, Jim. Why don't I put together the currency hedging team? and we'll have a discussion with you about what other clients have done and found helpful about hedging currency exposure overseas. I might engage a client on, I don't know, a financing mandate. Have you noticed that your competitors are raising financing in the debt markets right now because interest rates are so low and it's very cheap rather than using equity financing? Why don't we, have you ever thought about using debt financing? Can I put together the debt financing team? We can have a discussion about that. And then I'm not just a merger banker. I'm a merger banker. I'm a currency hedging expert. I'm a capital markets banker. And over the course of the 6 months that I'm intimate with a CEO, my job is to become an everything banker to them, right? It starts advising them on as much as possible. And over the course of the relationship, if I do a good job, I'm not even just a financial advisor. I'm an everything advisor. If they hurt their knee, they're calling me up and saying, hey, if you have any good doctors you might recommend to fix my knee, that's ideal. Or, my daughter's applying to college, where do you think she should go? That's becoming a strategic advisor to your client. Lawyers make this mistake. Bankers make this mistake. Accountants, consultants make this mistake time in and time out. I cannot tell you how often I see it. So if you're a lawyer working on an antitrust matter, do a great job on that antitrust matter. But use the opportunity while you're with the client to start to engage them on other things, what their competitors are doing. Have you thought about maybe structuring this transaction differently to minimize tax impact? Can we bring in our tax folks to talk to you about that? Use that opportunity to build a relationship. It is very helpful for 3 reasons. One, you give the client better advice the more you know about the client, right? You become a better advisor. So the more stuff you're doing for the client, the more you know, the better advice you can give them because it's all intertwined. If you're working on a merger mandate, it's going to affect their ability to raise financing or hedge their currency or whatever it might be. So you're going to be able to give them better holistic advice the more you know. Secondly, you box out the competition. So in my case, when the CEO gets around to thinking about whether they should hedge their currency, they're not having a bake-off. They're not bringing in 10 currency hedging firms to help them. No, they're like, no, Jim's doing that for me because he's doing everything for me, including helping me find a doctor to fix my knee, right? So you box out the competition. No one can get in. And then thirdly is you smooth out the cyclicality of these different practice areas that you might find yourself in. If you're a merger banker or a merger lawyer, it's very exciting to be a merger banker right now or an M&A lawyer because interest rates are very low, money is cheap, there's a lot of activity going on. Guess what? It doesn't stay that way, right? You feast or you starve. And people are feasting right now in that area. They're starving in other areas. If you're an everything banker, everything lawyer to a client, you smooth out the cyclicality of those individual business segments. So when mergers are dead and interest rates are high, you're working on, I don't know, maybe some bankruptcy work, maybe you're working on more hedging work, maybe you're working on financing work because financing becomes much more nuanced when you have high interest rates, et cetera. So secondly, become a strategic advisor to your clients. Don't make the mistake that most people make, which is work really hard on the mandate they have, do a great job. When the mandate's over, you leave the relationship and then it decays over time. And you don't have a relationship after a little while. Don't make that mistake. Third piece of advice is to listen and ask open-ended questions. The most important quality in covering clients effectively is empathy, the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes. So how do you achieve empathy? How do you become empathetic? You ask a lot of questions and ask open-ended questions. So questions that don't lend themselves to yes, no answers. So you don't say, is it sunny outside, right? You say, how do you like the weather outside? And you'll get the client to talk more. The more the client talks, the more you learn. Believe it or not, the better they feel. I give a talk on interviewing here every once in a while when Kevin asks me to do it. And the best interview you can have with a prospective employer is an interview where they're talking like 95% of the time. Right? And you walk out of the room and they're like, gee, Sarah's an awesome candidate. I don't know anything about her, but she's awesome. Because guess what? They spent the whole time talking about what they care most about, themselves, right? Because you got them to talk about themselves the whole time. So ask lots of questions, make them open-ended questions, and listen very, very well. Third piece of advice. Fourth piece of advice is be creative. true story is I covered two CEOs. They were independent of each other from different countries, didn't know each other, had different industries, and they both had the same nickname for their lawyer. The nickname for their lawyer was Dr. No, N-O. And the reason they called their lawyer Dr. No is they felt like every time they went to their lawyer told them why they couldn't do something that they were trying to do. And by the way, that's often the right advice. Like, you don't want to get your clients in trouble. You don't want to tell them they should do things that they shouldn't. That's fine. Say no, give them honest advice. It's good advice. But don't stop there. Come up with an alternative. Come up with a creative way where they could accomplish what they were trying to accomplish, or if it's not possible, accomplish something else. Even if you don't even think they might want to, at least it looks like you're trying. So don't be a Dr. No. That's the fourth piece of advice. Be creative. Fifth piece of advice is put the client first. Now, a lot of people say that. A lot of people talk about that. What does it really mean? It really means two things, in my opinion. The first thing is be prepared to give the client advice that is not in your interest. There's no better way to establish credibility with a client than to give them advice that is not in your interest. So in my world, if we're advising, an example I used, if you're advising company A to buy company B, we really only get paid if the transaction goes through, right? People who take my corporate strategy class know that oftentimes it's not the right decision for company A to buy company B. In fact, more often than not, it's not the right decision. So if you go to company A, your client, and you say, you know what, you shouldn't do this deal. As a lawyer, you're going to get paid more the longer the deal goes on, right? All the way through consummation, you get paid by the hour. You shouldn't do this deal. It's a mess. You're overpaying. They're hidden, whatever it is. You will establish an enormous amount of credibility longer term because the client knows that's not in your interest to give them that advice. You're going to get paid less. You're going to stop getting paid that day if they listen to you. Advocate hard for positions regardless of what is in your interest. In fact, it's even better to put yourself longer term, better for the relationship, to put yourself in a position where you're advocating for a position that is against your interest. So put the client first. That's the first aspect of putting the client first. The second aspect is one that's probably going to be less popular for all of you to hear, but you need to work really hard and to convince the client that you're there for them all the time. Now, a lot of people talk about work-life balance, and I'm a fan of work-life balance, right? I didn't have a lot of it when I started at my firm until I made partner, and even for a period of time after that. But it's not a bad thing to have work-life balance. It's a good thing. But it's also a very competitive world. And if you're not there for the client on the thing that he's hired or she's hired you to do, which is very important to them, somebody else is going to be there for them. And there's plenty of people willing to pick up the phone at 2 or 3 in the morning if you're not. So you have to work hard. I think of work-life balance more longer term than shorter term. So I don't achieve work-life balance on a given day. Maybe not in a given week, although I'm senior enough that I try and have work-life balance on a weekly basis. But at your stage of your career, when you're just starting out, think about it in terms of maybe monthly work-life balance or yearly or until you make partner, whatever it is. You can think about it in different ways with different periods of time. But you've got to convey to the client that they are the most important thing in the world to you, which means you want to respond as quickly as possible. What I tell people when I started at Goldman Sachs through the first 10 years I was at the firm is I would say to clients, look, you can leave me a voicemail anytime unless I'm dead or asleep. I check it every 10 seconds. And that resonated with people. And by the way, some people would try to test me on that, and I always did. So you need, and I don't sleep very long either. So, they're getting a lot of responses back from me. So you got to do that. That's not a popular, maybe correct thing to say, but it is important to have work-life balance, have maybe a longer-term perspective on that, but you got to be there for the client when they need you because you're being hired to work on something really important to them. Number 6, this may sound obvious, the most obvious piece of advice I've given, but be upbeat. I cannot tell you how important it is to be upbeat. So if your life is a mess, don't tell the client that, right? Don't let the client know that. If you're having a bad day or a bad week or a bad year, don't let the client know that. Don't share that stuff with the client. You may be tempted to, particularly if you get close to a client. Better not to. Better to be upbeat because it's contagious. People want to be around happy, upbeat people, right? So be upbeat, be happy. Even if things aren't going well, pick yourself up, go in there, put on a happy face for the period of time you're interacting with your client. Very important to be upbeat. It's contagious. Being down is also contagious. You don't want to be down when you meet with clients. Last piece of advice is, for all of you, this is a unique piece of advice, is take classes in the law and business section here at UVA. You have a unique opportunity. You have present company accepted, outstanding faculty who teach classes that are business oriented. And the reason why you want to take these classes is there is twofold. There are two reasons. The first reason is so that you understand business. You understand your peers in business, why they make the decisions they make, how they were educated, what motivates them, how their companies work. It'll make you a better lawyer or consultant or banker or whatever it is that you're going to be. The second reason, which I tell my students often, which is a goal in my class, a goal that I put out front, is it will demystify the jargon and the language of the business world. The world that I operate in, like the world that you operate in, if you're in law school, is mystified in language, right? You speak in terms that many people don't understand, stare decisis, res judicata. So if you're not a lawyer, you can go to law school, you're like, oh my gosh, what does this stuff mean? The reality is it's not complicated, right? It's just jargon. The same is true in the business world. We speak in terms of capital asset pricing model, discounted cash flow analysis, comparable merger analysis, whatever you want to call it. The concepts behind those terms are easy, but if you're not familiar with them, and you start covering a client or you're in a boardroom and they start whipping around these terms, they're speaking a foreign language and you're out of the conversation. You're going to feel pretty intimidated. I can't tell you how many times I've seen lawyers shut down because they don't understand the language. It's like they're speaking a foreign language that they can't understand. If you take classes in the law and business section here, it will help demystify, decloak some of those, if not most of those expressions, most of that jargon gets used in the classroom and you become fluent in it, at least conversant in it. You won't be intimidated by it. So the topic today is secrets to optimal client service. So what are the rules of thumb you can use to deliver optimal client service? And I think these rules of thumb apply whether you're an investment banker or a management consultant or a lawyer or any professional person who finds himself in a position to be working with or covering clients. So what are the heuristics? What are the rules of thumb that you should use when you cover clients? The first is to never use jargon. Never use jargon with a client. So you're all in school. You are learning jargon terms. You are practicing those jargon terms with each other, with your friends, with your colleagues, with your professors. When you graduate, you will go and work at a firm in your chosen profession. And you will continue to learn more jargon terms and practice those with your colleagues. You will become very familiar with those terms. It will become habitual to use them. It will roll off of your collective tongues. Don't use them with clients. If you're a lawyer, you'll learn terms like summary judgment or res judicata. If you're an investment banker, you'll learn terms like enterprise value or CAGR or CAP-M. Don't use those with clients. If you do, chances are the client won't understand the term you're using. And there's even a greater chance that if they don't understand it, they will not ask you what it means. They don't want to appear foolish, so they won't ask you. So what will they do? They will sit there in silence, not understanding the term, feeling foolish, and resenting you for making them feel that way. So don't use jargon. The second rule of thumb, the second heuristic that you should use or follow when covering clients is to pause. Pause when you're talking with clients, when you're presenting. Why should you do that? There are 3 reasons why you should do that. The first reason is if you're presenting to a prospective client or an existing client, chances are you're nervous. And when you're nervous, you speak more quickly. The cadence of your voice, of your speech, picks up. Pause. If you pause, it will slow you down. It will make you appear less nervous to the client. It also has a unique positive feedback effect. If you pause, it actually calms you down. You feel less nervous. So pause to slow yourself down. The second reason to pause is because when you pause, you create an empty space. You create a vacuum, a space into which the client is likely to ask a question or make a comment. That's good. You want your presentation not to be a speech. You want it to be a conversation, a dialogue. Pausing encourages dialogue. It encourages comments, questions from the client. The third reason to pause is because there is, by definition, by nature, a power imbalance that exists. The client has power. You have less. Pausing creates uncertainty. That uncertainty serves to slightly shift the balance in your favor. So pause when talking with clients, when making presentations to clients or prospective clients. Pause. The third secret to delivering optimal client service is to look for opportunities to give the client advice that is contrary to your own interests. Look for opportunities to give advice to your client where the advice is contrary to your own interests. For example, if you and your firm only get paid if a transaction is consummated, advise the client not to consummate the transaction. If that makes sense for the client, of course. There's no more powerful way to establish credibility with a client than to give them advice that they know is not in your interest. An example I just gave, they know you're not going to get paid, and your firm's not going to get paid to give them the advice you just gave them not to close the transaction. So look for opportunities to give the client advice that is not in your interest. Number 4, the fourth heuristic, the fourth rule of thumb to use when covering clients in order to deliver optimal client service is to ask open-ended questions. Ask open-ended questions. Avoid questions that lend themselves to yes, no answers. So for example, instead of asking the client, are you worried about competitors entering your market space and taking market share away from you? Instead of asking that question, ask the client, what are you worried about? What are your concerns? You want to ask open-ended questions for two reasons. The first reason is because you want to get the client to talk. People enjoy talking about themselves. That may sound cynical, but that is a fact. So the more you get the client to talk about themselves, the more they're going to enjoy the meeting, and the more they're going to associate interaction with you in a positive way. So ask them open-ended questions. Ask them questions about their background. Ask them questions like, what was it like founding this company? What was it like in the early days? Why did you found the company? So the first reason to ask open-ended questions is because you want the client to talk. It will make the client's experience better. The second reason is it will help you do your job better. You'll learn things from the client about the client. You'll learn what the client's biases are, what their interests are, what their passions are, what their fears are. That will help you do your job better. So ask open-ended questions because the client will enjoy the meeting more, and because you will learn more about the client and you will do your job better. Number 5, the fifth secret, the fifth heuristic, the fifth rule of thumb to use when covering clients to deliver optimal client service is to be positive, be upbeat. People like to be around people who are positive and energetic and upbeat. So when you walk into a meeting and the client asks you how you're doing, your answer should always be something like, great, thanks, how are you? It should never be something like, oh my gosh, I'm having a horrible day. I lost my cat. I'm really worried about him. Don't do that. Okay, the client may react with sympathy, but it's not the right thing to do. You have been hired to solve problems for the client. You have not been hired, and you are not there to foist your problems upon the client. Be upbeat. Always, always be positive. Number 6, be careful about mixing business with social activities. Now, I almost never do this personally. Others do, and it can work well for people. I don't do it. But if you do, or you do it to some extent, make sure you have a bright line and you don't cross that line. I remember when I started at Goldman Sachs a long time ago, I had come to the firm with a lot of new associates. We had come from all different graduate schools, the best schools all over the country and the world. And 2 months into my associate training class program, I wrote down a list of the 10 people, the 10 new associates who I thought would be most successful 5 years later, most successful at this job, most successful at delivering optimal client service. So of the hundreds of new associates at Goldman Sachs, I wrote down a list of the people who I thought, the 10, who I thought in 5 years would be the best. And then I pulled this list out 5 years later, and I was dead wrong. So on my list of 10, most of them weren't even at the firm anymore. They had been fired or quit. And those who were struggling. The criteria that I used, the characteristics that I looked for, were almost contraindicators of success in delivering client service. I thought it would be helpful and important if you had past sales skills, past sales experience. I thought it would be important and helpful if you were a good schmoozer. I thought it would be helpful if you were good at golf or tennis. In my experience, none of those things matter. None of them matter. Clients hire you because you're smart, because you work hard. Period. Full stop. So be smart, work hard. Clients do not hire you because you can take them out to a fancy dinner. So be careful about mixing business with social activities. Number 7, seventh heuristic, the 7th rule of thumb to use to deliver optimal client service is to be humble. Be humble. So when you're asking those open-ended questions that I talked about earlier, about the client's background, about their business, make comments that indicate humility, that are complimentary to the client, that indicate humility on your part. Being humble is endearing. So make comments like, what you have done with your company is extraordinary. It's very impressive. Comments like, I could not hope to know a fraction of what you know about your business. Now, by the way, make sure these comments are genuine, right? The comments I just made, those 2 comments I could make and would be genuine about just about every client with whom I have worked over the last 30 years. Be humble. It's endearing. Number 8, the 8th heuristic is to be responsive and available to clients. You want to tell the client up front, you want to tell them up front immediately that they are important to you. You should tell them that. You should also tell them that you will be available to them whenever they need you. Tell them that. But you need to back that up by doing the following. You need to be responsive. When they call you, call them back immediately. When they email you, email them back immediately. Respond immediately. You may not know the answer to their question on their email or the one they're asking you on the phone call. That's fine. It doesn't matter. Respond immediately. Let them know you're going to get the answer, but be responsive. And this is particularly important in the early stages of a relationship. It's particularly important early on because first impressions die hard. And you want to make a good impression. You want to give the client the impression. You want to leave them with the impression that they're important to you and that you will be responsive. So tell them they can reach you anytime, and then follow that up by being responsive. Be responsive to the client. Be available. Number 9, the 9th rule of thumb when covering clients to follow is to take a position. Clients are hiring you to give them advice. So tell them what to do. Don't equivocate. Don't back down. Don't be nervous. Tell them what you and your firm would advise them to do. That is what they want. They want you to tell them what to do. It's fine to present options, if you like, but advocate for one option. Tell the client what to do. Take a position. Number 10, the 10th heuristic, the 10th secret to delivering optimal client service is to control the meeting. So if you're meeting with a client or a prospective client, it's your meeting, not anyone else's meeting. Don't let anyone hijack the meeting. Don't let the client or anyone on the client's team or anyone else in the room hijack the meeting. Don't let them distract you. Don't let them take you off topic. If someone asks you a question that's unrelated to the topic that you are discussing, your response should be something like, great question. I'm going to get to that in 10 minutes. Or hold that thought. It's a great point. Oh, it's always a great point. I'm going to cover that shortly. Do not let them sidetrack you. If you do, you'll do a bad job for the client. You'll do a bad job in the meeting. You'll lose the confidence of the client. And you'll get sidetracked. You won't deliver the meeting in the way that you would like. You won't cover all of the material. The client will suffer and you will suffer. Control the meeting. Do not allow anyone to hijack your meeting. Number 11, the 11th secret, and this is the final one, is have an agenda. Have an agenda and write things down. Walk into your meeting with an agenda. And then communicate that agenda to the client right up front. Start the meeting by saying, today we thought we'd cover the following things. 1, 2, 3. Does that make sense? Ask, does that make sense? You want the client to buy into the agenda from the very beginning. You want the client to own the agenda with you from the very beginning. If the client says, well, I'd like to add the following, no problem, add it. If the client wants to remove anything from your agenda, no problem, remove it. But agree on the agenda. And if you do, the client will have bought into the agenda and will have gone a long way toward buying into the contents of your entire meeting. Have an agenda, communicate the agenda up front, get the client to buy into the agenda, and then write things down during the meeting. It doesn't matter whether you think you need to write them down or not. It doesn't matter whether you have a photographic memory. Write things down. You do that because, one, it's endearing to do that, but two, you want to convey to the client that you are not going to drop a ball, that you are not going to forget to do anything that you've told them that you're going to do. So write things down, and at the end of the meeting, recap the follow-up items. Recap them. Say, so we have the following items that we're going to follow up with you on. 1, we're going to revise the model and send it to you in a week. 2, we're going to wait for you to send us the new numbers on your revenue forecasts. If you haven't sent them to us by Friday, we'll send you an email to remind you. 3, tomorrow we'll send you follow-up dates and times for suggestions for our next meeting, which we should schedule in 3 weeks, etc. Recap the follow-up items. The client will feel less anxious. They will feel like this person is in control, and this person is not going to drop a ball. The analogy I use here goes back to one of the most basic kinds of client service, being a waiter. When you walk into a restaurant, and if you're with 9 of your friends, the 10 of you sit down, waiter comes over to the table, and each of you order a drink and an appetizer and a main course and some side dishes, and the waiter doesn't write anything down and doesn't recap what it is that all of you ordered. I can guarantee you that there's some people at that table who are somewhat anxious about what they're going to actually get in 15 minutes when the food comes out. You do not want your client to be anxious about the fact that you may, or the idea that you may forget to follow up on some of the items that he or she has asked you to follow up on. Write them down, recap them at the end. So those are the 11 secrets to providing optimal client service. So to recap them, the first is to never use jargon. Never use jargon. The second is to pause. Pause. Slow yourself down. The third is to look for opportunities to give the client advice or the advice is not in your interest. Number 4, ask open-ended questions. Ask a lot of them. Get into the practice of doing that. Avoid questions that lend themselves to yes/no answers. Number 5, be positive. Be upbeat, always. 6, be careful about mixing business with social activities. Number 7, be humble. Number 8, be available, be responsive. That's particularly important in the early stages of a relationship, as I mentioned. Number 9, take a position. Tell the client what to do. Don't equivocate. Don't back down. Tell them what you and your firm recommend that they do. Number 10, control the meeting. It's your meeting, no one else's meeting. Don't allow anyone else to take control of it. Number 11, have an agenda. Communicate the agenda to the client up front. Get them to buy into it. And take notes and write things down.
The American dream is alive and well because you started. With $120,000, you each put $10,000. You got the rest, right? And closing bell today, KKR at a market cap of $57 billion.
Well, you're going to be a good entrepreneur. What do? You're either going to get through the wall or you're going to get over the wall, but you're going to get to the other side somehow.
Senator Kravis, welcome to Guilford County and this event. These are all business people. I see 3 or 4 Hyper University business students here. They're all looking for jobs. So, you know, but they all want to start vice president. You know, that's sort of the idea.
I don't blame them.
So, Henry Kravis, you were born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then you went to Claremont McKenna College in California. Then you went to Columbia to get your MBA, and then you got a job at Bear Stearns, and you were a partner by age 31. And then something happened you didn't like. Someone didn't like your idea. And you and your cousin George left and started KKR. What's that all about? What happened? Let us in on the secret.
Well, you know, it's interesting. We were at Bear Stearns. George Roberts, as you said, my first cousin. He grew up in Houston. I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And we had been, along with Jerry Kohlberg. Jerry was 19 years older than George and I. George and I were both 32 at the time we started the firm. And we actually went to the senior partner at Bear Stearns, said to him, we've been doing, we'll call it private equity now. It's had all different names. And they hated it because they were a sales and trading firm. And for them, overnight was long term. They never put a penny into any deal we ever did. But they were happy to get the fees that we would bring in from that, but didn't invest. So we said, we want to do this, and we'd like to do it within Bear Stearns. We'll give you half of this new firm. We'll call it KKR. And we'll take half. And the senior partner, Cy Lewis, said, you're either here doing what we want you to do or you're out. So we went back to our office and we said, well, there's our answer, we're out. So we left. George and I didn't have any money. We were young partners there, but that didn't mean anything. And so I put up $10,000. That's all the money I had. George put up $10,000. That's all he had. And Jerry was 19 years older. He put up $100,000. So we started this firm with $120,000. And the idea was, which was what we had been doing at Bear Stearns, was to make long-term investments. For Bear Stearns, 5 to 10 years, that was unheard of. They didn't know what it meant. For them, long-term was overnight. They were a sales and trading firm. So we wanted to make long-term investments and improve businesses. That's really was the point of the investment. And so we just bought a few companies, and including a company in Greensboro. Boron Clay Products was one of our very first investments. That was in 1974. We started making investments in 69. And we made a little money with that for the firm. And so when we started, we went out to raise a $25 million fund. And we went to a man in Pittsburgh named Henry Hillman. Now, I had read an article that Henry Hillman had put the money up to start Kleiner Perkins, the venture capital firm, about 4 months before. So I called him and I said, we'd like to come down. He said, great. He didn't know what we did, and we didn't know each other. And so George and I went down to see him, and we left after lunch, and he said, I'll be back to you in 2 weeks. So fine, that was sort of normal. We were dealing with a Prudential insurance company, Mass Mutual, all took a long time. And he, 5 days go by, and his right-hand man, Wes Adams, called me. He said, did you not like us? And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, we haven't heard from you. It's 5 days since you were here. And I said, well, Mr. Adams, I thought that you and Mr. Hillman said that you'd be back to us in 2 weeks. And he started laughing. He said, that's right. He said, that's what we said. But he said, the minute you and George walked out of the room, Mr. Hillman said, you know, I like those young guys. I want half their fund. So I did the Toyota leap thinking I'm on a payphone at the O'Hare Airport thinking, wow, we're in business. Well, not so fast. You have to understand, we have left Bear Stearns. We had no money. We each had 3 kids. We're both 32 years old. And we couldn't raise a $25 million fund on terms that made sense. I'll tell you what happened. So he was going to give us the first half of it, $12.5 million. We went to the Prudential and Mass Mutual. They said, we love you, you made us a lot of money. We'll take the other half, but